Hello everyone, my name is James Doherty. This presentation is on RFID or radio frequency identification. It's for computer security, Cyber 332 from Metro State, and my professor's name is Professor Faisal Kaleem. In addition to this, this is only for educational purposes, and I'm not liable for any damages or things that could be caused by these demonstrations. So, to start off, radio frequency identification, RFID. What is it, and how do we protect it or with it? So, how does it work? RFID is the process of using electromagnetic fields, which are radio waves, to identify and track receiver tags. The reader uses pulses of electromagnetic waves as signal, and the RFID tags reply with a pre-programmed tag number. The tags are generally passive, which means they don't have any power source, and they just kind of reply using the power of the reader's radio waves. And so they kind of hit them and come back with a response. They can also be active though. That means they would contain batteries or systems that allow them to be read at a greater range, and they could actually project their waves back. So the frequencies that RFID deals with, there's basically three. There's low frequency, it's between 30 and 300 kilohertz, but the standards are 125 and 134. This is the really low level stuff that you actually have to touch kind of to read. Not very long range and all that, but very popular in a lot of places. High frequency is probably the next biggest. That's 3 to 30 megahertz. 13.56 is the standard, and that's going to be more like smart cards, credit cards, anything else that's a little more complicated. It's not just an inventory item. And then next we have ultra high frequency, and that's from 300 to 1000, and 433, 860 to 960 is the standard. This one's not in use in a lot of things. It's kind of going to be the next standard. They're cheaper to produce at the higher frequency, but unfortunately the uses for it are a little more limited. So just I want to give you guys a diagram of kind of what it looks like. This is a little more complicated than you'd probably see. It'd most likely be just kind of a handheld scanner or something like that, but you kind of see. So we have the computer. This is the reader, which kind of may be more of a handheld scanner, and the antenna. These might probably be combined. But as you can see, the antenna sends this frequency over to the tag. The tag responds with its own frequency back to the antenna, and then the reader reads that data and then interprets it for the computer into, plain text or whatever it might be. So as you can see here, we have a low frequency reader that I bought off Amazon. It was only like 10 bucks. So this isn't really probably what an attacker would use. They'd use one of the bigger handheld ones that look like the ones you'd see at stores. But this is a cheap little way to show. And then right here we have the tags. So they're just nice and simple tags. They have the numbers right on top that I bought. And these are actually stickers. And as you can see, it's as easy as just kind of, and then right here on my computer, it just showed the tag number. So it's nice and simple. You can see how if they had one of the handheld, more complicated devices, it would be real easy just to scan somebody's back pocket or wallet or anything like that. You can even disable the sound so it doesn't beep like mine did, and it'd be really easy to take people's stuff like that. Some practical applications that people use RFID for is like not much for these lower frequency stuff, because that's more inventory control, like I said before. But some people use it like, oh, I want to log into my computer. I have a tag with something. I press the tag and then it logs into my computer. That's kind of a cool one I saw. But other than that, it's kind of more just business inventory use and stuff like that. But yeah. Okay, so types of RFID devices. So in low frequency, we kind of have low range, inches to a foot maybe. The data transfer is very slow, and it's not impacted heavily by liquids, so it's kind of nice in some senses that you can put it on certain items, and if it's liquid inside, it won't be as affected. Examples of animal tagging, so animals that get lost and found, tags are RFID. Inventory control, that's just kind of general, like warehousing and anything that isn't a barcode, but could be tracked with RFID. And then access control, that would be building access and all that jazz. For high frequency, it's a medium range, so inches to kind of meter or a few feet. The data transfer rate is a lot faster. It means you can have a lot more being obviously transferred, but then also a more complicated RFID frequency too. And then it's significantly impacted by liquids actually. So putting a water bottle in front of that reader would actually impact it a lot. It would probably deter you from being able to read it. And so it's kind of a caveat to the higher frequencies, but it just is what it is. So smart cards, mobile payments, ticketing, car key fobs, basically the next level up from the basic low frequency, low range stuff to the more used nowadays. The biggest one, mobile payments, tap and pay. And then ultra high frequency. So long range, up to 12 meters. That's pretty dang big. It's also got a fast transfer rate, and it's also impacted by liquids. It's got really cheap to reduce tags. I think it's just to do with the material and how it's produced or how it's manufactured is easier with these higher frequency ones, but this isn't as used as much. There's a couple things like race timing, industrial logistics, using shipping containers and big things like that to track those. Anti-counterfeiting, just all these sorts of things that are a little more niche, but they find a use with RFID. So how can RFID be attacked? So there's a few types of RFID attacks. The biggest one is RFID skimming. That is when the attacker reads a tag using a handheld device or like a skimming device. It's the most common form of RFID theft or security attacks. So there's two different kind of techniques of it. There's active skimming. That's where they actually have a handheld device or something hidden in their bag, and they actively come up to you and they try to scan your wallet or your pocket or whatever it is. And that's a little more scary, obviously, because they're right there doing it. It's a lot less common. They use handheld scanners and stuff. Then there's passive skimming, and so that is where they leave a compromised device or a piece of device just to attach to a legitimate reader, and that just passively gains your data and your RFID signal, and we'll record it for later so that the person can come back and retrieve that. So they would be attached to credit card ATM machines, pay stations, anything that has one of those credit card readers, and so that's everywhere, and like I said, they come back to retrieve the data. Some of them are wireless and they could retrieve it, but those are a lot less rare. And then we also have eavesdropping. This kind of just leads into all the rest. So eavesdropping is just when, as we know, when a malicious RFID reader listens to conversations between the tag and the authorized reader. It's anything you could listen to through there could be duplicated, and that's kind of the next one. Replay, and so if they get like a building access code or somebody's personal employee card, they could replay it or at least listen to it and figure out how to get into that building, how to use that item or service or whatever it is. So replay is building upon eavesdropping when record it and retransmit it to the device. All right, and so this can be used to gain access to buildings, steal information, impersonate employees, all the things we know. So here are some examples of card skimmers. So first off, a handheld scanner, it probably wouldn't look exactly like this, but I was having trouble finding pictures. Handheld scanner would probably be used by the attacker, and they'd probably even conceal it or put it in like a bag or something and then kind of hold it up to you. The next time we have is the skimmer that's attached to pay terminals. This is kind of an example of that. It looks exactly like what you'd see right on there, but as you see with this next picture, there's a whole other system of device that will skim your card right as you enter it to the other one. And that same sort of thing, they attach it to these standalone card readers, and it looks almost identical, and it's incredibly hard to tell if you messed it up, you know. And then this is just a comparison between the two. And here's some more attacks. So denial of service, DDoS. This is more rare, but it can be used if they interfere with the signals, block them. If they remove tags, they can take down systems. It's a lot less common, but it is possible. And yeah, and basically, if they really wanted to, they could issue a kill command. That can be issued to a lot of RFID tags. And they would render them completely inoperable. They wouldn't be able to be read or have any data like saved to it. So it's it's a threat, but I don't think it's very common. Cloning, spoofing kind of goes with eavesdropping and replay. They get the data from your communication and they use it to make their own tag or their own item or whatever the identity of the tag is. And so the same sort of thing as that. And then lastly, we have viruses. This is a lot less common, but some RFID systems that have a large storage capacity, the more modern systems, higher frequencies, they have more capacity, and it means they allow for more attacks like viruses that could be uploaded to the tag or the reader and compromise things. That's obviously more complicated, but in the future, this will be a vector that increases in attacks. So, attack environments. So for public attacks, I kind of say like anywhere where there's a lot of people, and anywhere where there's credit card pay stations. So grocery stores, gas pumps, parking pay stations, fast food casual restaurants, any stores that have the pay stations. And then that's kind of more the skimming, but also the active reading that can also be it can also be done in public, so busy public places like markets, fairs, events, transportation centers like airports, bus stations and stuff. Anywhere where there's lots of people walking around and lots of potential targets. And for business attacks, it's a little different. It would probably be a lot more targeted, and it would be a little more different motive of the attacker. So building access, if they need building access, any entrance to the building that uses fobs or RFID tags to get in, interior doors, rooms, things like that, that an attacker or an employee might have access to that wants to maliciously do things. Garages, gates to compounds, things like that. Location tracking is also something that's done through some RFID. The higher frequencies, they generally track high-end shipments and things like that when they get shipped around the world. So they usually need to have sufficient range of power tags to be able to do it, but it could be high-end automobiles, farming equipment, chemicals, like I was saying, with shipping containers, with expensive things. So basically anything that you might want to track while you're shipping it across the world. And yeah, anywhere RFID is used is potential attack environment. So, given all this, how can we protect it? So RFID shielding and blocking. Passive blocking, that is where the shield or the protective covering that absorbs or deflects the RFID signal is attached to the tag. And so this can be done kind of two ways. Reflective loss, which is radio frequency energy is bounced away from the tag, and that would be like a layer that just completely reflects that off. And then absorption loss, that would be the material itself kind of absorbs the frequency of the waves and then kind of disperses it / makes it not readable, so that the tag itself can't read and then try to reply. So that would block that. On the other hand, active blocking, that is shields or protectors that use microchip or other signal systems to throw out an interfering signal or in the same way absorb power from that original signal. By sending out an interfering signal, the chip will transmit another tag, like another identity tag, that will cause an error in the reader because it gets kind of both tags or multiple tags. and then and the other way by absorbing most of or all the transmitting signal, the chip prevents the tag itself from responding to the request as it doesn't have enough power from the original reader. And so they have a bunch of products for shielding and stuff like that. So this first one is kind of it's an RFID cloaked card, and you put it right inside your wallet. It would be right on top of the card that actually has RFID capabilities, and it basically acts as that layer of deflection. Same sort of thing goes with, they have these sleeves for cards, and they use the same sort of material. I think it's like silver and other things, carbon, and basically just protects that that chip in there that does the responding. That same sort of material can be bought in wholesale like this. Obviously, you wouldn't want to buy too much, but you can line basically anything you could think of that has an RFID. So they make wallets with it, and you've probably seen ads for these on YouTube all the time. And then they make all sorts of just regular like bags and pockets and stuff that just have liners of that blocking material, and it blocks the signals. Another method to protect is mutual authentication, and we all know that from class. Is where the tag and the reader first send an encrypted code to each other to kind of identify each other, and that's the system key. And then once they have both responded with that right code response, then they'll transmit the actual message over that. So it's not perfect, but it helps against skimming and eavesdropping types of attacks, as the attacker would not have that key, and it would be a huge hurdle for them to overcome. So another few protection ideas here. So lock password. For advanced systems with tags that have more storage, passwords can be implemented to the actual tags. They would have to enter that tag password to actually activate the tag's ability to do the transmission. And that's, like it kind of says there, it's more been systems that had more storage and not for low frequency. Then we have the kill code I kind of touched on before. That's where you can use an encryption kill command that will just basically destroy that tag and not allow it to be used again. Obviously this isn't used in a lot of scenarios besides if there's already been an attack and you can somehow deactivate a tag like that, or the code to the tag, but basically it's another way. And then the last one I have is kind of physical switches and buttons. It's kind of a broad category of if you implement a physical switch on the tag or some sort of slide or covering or something that needs to be pressed in order for it to activate for the reader. This is actually a huge benefit security-wise, as the skimmers can't press that button on the tag, hopefully, unless they steal it from you, and if they are trying to read it, they only have that split-second chance to actually be right there and scan it from you. So I just wanted to show you guys a couple techniques I do when I'm out and about. So like the first one, when I'm at the grocery store, I always just kind of pull on the thing itself there and kind of check that it's not attached to anything else. And then same sort of thing with gas stations. Kind of just pull on it, check underneath to see if there's any other attached things to it, and kind of same goes with the RFID signal thing. So closing remarks, RFID, it's widely used around the world. It's getting more and more used, and it's getting more and more attacked, is what I kind of want to say about that. It's not that we don't have precautions. We have shielding, we have encryption, we have things like that, but the mass use of it is definitely it's a little too much to keep up with. So I think everyone kind of needs to just keep in mind these ways to protect against it, grabbing against terminals and stuff, using shielding technology or whatever, and basically just looking out for yourself, because these technologies are very useful, but they have disadvantages to it, and this is one of those. So thank you for watching my video, and I appreciate the time you took, and yeah, thank you very much. And here are my references. Thank you.